Hello there. So what we're working on today is installing valves in a cylinder head. And this cylinder head is off of a small horsepower car, about a middle series 2025. This is the front of the head, as you can see, with the outlet for the coolant. This head is going to go on an engine we're rebuilding. The guides, valves, and seats have been reconditioned, and now they are ready to go back in. We have new valve springs. I always recommend using new valve springs. Springs tend to lose their tension as they age, and they can get to the point where they just are absolutely at zero. So anyway, so this is the valve, seats, and everything's been done. These have been numbered. You can see a number 1 on there. So this goes into the number 1 guide. So we're going to put a little bit of oil on the stem. Put the valve in place. And then we're going to use this tool here. You may have seen this in your toolkit and wondered, what in the world is that for? Well, this is to hold the valve in place when you have the keepers off, and when you're doing an exercise such as this. And then the nice thing about it is that it can be used while the cylinder head is attached to the car, because it screws into the spark plug hole here. So I'll thread it in, put it up against the head of the valve there, tighten up the locking collet. And there we go. So now the valve's secure, it can't fall back down. And then I have another handy tool, which I'm going to demonstrate here in a minute. This is a homemade tool. When I go to switch to another valve, I'll take it off and show you. So then we take our seal cap, I have seals here soaking in oil. So we put a seal in there, make sure it's nicely in position, and then put that over the valve. And you'll see a little hole here. I like to kind of put the holes towards the center at each other. So yeah, so now we have that in place, seals in place. Put our new spring on. And then we have the collet that retains the keepers. Put that there. We grab 2 of the valve keeps. I would make a little adjustment on this. Then we push down. It keeps in place. And there we have it. Valves in. Undo the valve retaining tool. We're going to need that for the other valve now. Okay. Grab number 2. See, this valve's a little bit different. This is an exhaust valve. And Rolls-Royce original valves are quite good. So if they are still, if they're not cracked or chipped, not a whole lot of wear, then I recommend reconditioning and using them. Let me put the next one up. Get our spring ready, but first we're going to need the seal. And again, put that in. I put the hole towards the center. I don't know why. I just tend to do that. Sometimes you got to work the seal down a little bit. Make sure it went down into place. Spring in place. That guy there. Loosen up our tool to adjust. Original toolkits also a lot of times had a screw type compressor, which works but takes a little bit longer. Keepers in. We have another one. So now we got to move our tool to the next spark plug hole to do the other next two valves and the progression. Okay. And then in this order, we're going to have another exhaust valve that's going into cylinder number 2. Since the exhaust port is shared with 1 and 2, so the exhaust valves are close to each other. Another thing that I should explain is that these don't have it, but some valves you'll see a groove cut in here for a little wire snap that goes in there, and I guess that was to help keep the valve from dropping down in the cylinder if somehow the keepers came loose or a spring broke or something like that, which is a pretty uncommon thing. It does happen, but I think it really only occurred when somebody was abusing an engine over revving it, or just a fluky thing that might have happened. And these valve seals are a new old stock, not terribly old, but they're old enough that they're going to be of the same material that what was used originally. There are replacements out there which work, and I'm going to show you what they look like, and they're made out of a Teflon, I believe. That's these. The original ones are an asbestos rope. In the UK and some other countries, asbestos is not tolerated at all. Here in the US, there is some tolerance for asbestos. I won't get involved in the laws that are involved, but we're fortunate to have that, and I guess to some degree. So anyway, I like asbestos when it comes to things like this because it was what was intended to be there and tends to work well. More keeps in place. I might have that one upside down. So that's easy enough to fix. Sometimes they just sort of flop their way right in there, and other times it takes a little more effort. There you go. Loosen this up. On to the next valve. In here. Next seal into the plate here. And the seal cap. See, that one just flops straight down. And yeah, it's important that the valve seals are soaked in oil, so that'll help them to sort of squish and do their job and position nicely, and also to provide some lubrication, because you don't want dry, hard parts working against each other without any lubrication. I like to also put a little oil on the stem of the valve. That'll help keep down any possible rust from just the humidity in the area before you get the engine running. And now I need to adjust position my tool here. Put my keep in. All went in happily. So now when I go on to the next set, I'm going to have to reposition my tool, so I should show it to you. It's something that John Dennison made. This is the part that pushes down the top plate. This is how to adjust that. And then this is what screws onto the stud. So I'll screw it onto the next stud. It works quite well. And again, we gotta reposition our valve tool here. I think I'll do these two next. That'll be half of all the valves, and then I think at that point I'll end the video because it seems kind of like it's going to get a little too redundant because there's not really much more to it than what we're doing here. I will talk a little bit about the valve guide. The original guide is iron, and it's in on a very fine taper. There was a good bit of wear in the original guides, so we installed bronze inserts and reamed them. Of course, the phone has to ring now, so I'm just going to check something here real quick.